thought finds out, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. One of his advocacy transitioning women from unfulfilling jobs to purpose-driven businesses. No other than Mr. Mike Hunt. Welcome, Mr. Mike on Abstract Essay. Can you please introduce more about yourself that I
Thank you very much. And yes, I'm really passionate about this transition in women to purpose-driven businesses because I find women, especially as they get a little bit older, so they're in their 50s, they've got all these experiences, got their skills, and they've got so much enthusiasm and energy to give back and to give something to the world. And the more I can help facilitate that, the transition of that skills and experience from their workplaces into purpose-driven businesses that make a positive impact in the world, the better the world is.
definitely, and thank you for doing that, Mr. Mike. Thank you. And we salute you for that. And essay. So today, let's talk about fear stops here. How to test your business idea without risking everything you built. So tell us, Mr. Mike, your title begins with fear stops here. That's a
Yeah.
bold declaration for the entrepreneur listening right now who has a great idea but has not taken the first step. What is the actually stopping them? Is it the fear of failure, fear of loss, or something even deeper, like fear of succeeding, not being ready for what comes next?
All of the above. The interesting thing is some people fear, financial fear. Some people fear the failure, that it doesn't work. And some people actually fear, believe it or not, that, like you said, what comes next is it might actually succeed. And they're worried about what actually happens if it lives up to their greatest potential.
Certainly, they have fear always. You've written a book, isn't it? About testing business ideas.
I
Is
have.
it?
I've actually written a couple of books. So I wrote a book called Fast Track to a Kick-Ass Life, which is really your helping people overcome the fear and learn how to think about success in another way. My latest book is a bit more fun. It's called Make It Look Less Shit. And
Mm-hmm.
it's actually a fictional story about an alien who comes to Earth. And well, I hope it's a fictional story. It's a fictional story about an alien who comes to Earth and learns how that we don't need to make things perfect. We just need to make them look less shit. So it's really about trying to overcome fear to make that step because you don't have to have it perfect. You gotta make a change, make a difference.
You've written a book about testing business ideas without risking everything. Were there a moment in your own entrepreneurial journey when you almost lost everything, or did that made you realize that had to a better way? What did that moment teach you?
What it taught me is I planned my exit from the corporate career to follow my passion. And it took me 4 years from the time I decided to leave my job to actually when I left. But what I didn't realize at the time is I could have spent that 4 years preparing for my new life. I just was more getting ready to leave. And once I left, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, what do I do now? And that's where I really sort of that was my bottom moment because it was when I realized that I wasn't prepared at all, and it took me years and years to catch up and to get back on the roll and to build up clients and build up the business before I was really going for it. And I really want to share that with others because if you want to start a business and you want to follow your passion, follow your dreams, I think it's so important to accept it earlier rather than later and take the time while you're still at your work to actually build up your business. So when you leave, it's more of a transition into a business that's operating rather than walking out the door and saying, what now?
Risking everything you had built is terrifying phrase. For most people, everything means their savings, their reputation, their family stability,
Absolutely.
their sense of self. How do you
That's
help someone separate a rational risk worth taking from irrational fears that you just need to name and release?
what I believe is the fear really often comes from the not knowing. So when we go to the lab, to the dream lab, and we explore what it is to do what you want to do, it actually brings up all these questions that you haven't actually answered yet. So as you start exploring it, once you start looking at it, once you dissect it and start experimenting, what you start finding out what it's really important to you. You find out what the sort of people you want to be working with and how you're going to connect them, and what you need to operate it. And that actually, as you go through that process, it actually gives you a real confidence to step into that fear, to overcome the fear, because you're understanding it better rather than just going in blind.
Interesting, Mr. Mike. You talk about fear, something that can stop us cold, but fear also evolved to protect us. How do you help entrepreneurs distinguish between the fear that trying to keep them safe and the fear that just keeping them stuck?
That is a very, very good question. And I actually try not to work out which is which, to be honest, because they're both fears and they're both stopping us. So when we start to explore this thing, when we bring it out into the open, when we talk to people about it, we can start to understand what it really means and what it is that's stopping us. And so there may be an underlying fear that's trying to protect you. Absolutely, you're 100% right there. And that's important to recognize. But if you don't explore it, if you don't look into it, if you don't dissect it and really try to understand what it is, you don't really know what your body or your feeling, your gut feeling is telling you. But as you get clearer about what you're really trying to chase and you find that real clarity, you start to understand what's really going on. And you also start to recognize things in the world that are there to help you. You meet people who are going to assist you. You find opportunities and possibilities. And then that starts to overcome the issues that you may have had from not having that clarity.
Very well said, Dr. Mr. Mike. Very well said. Many aspiring entrepreneurs get paralyzed by perfectionism, waiting until the idea fully formed. The website is
Exactly.
perfect. The product is flawless. How is this perfectionism actually a form of fear? And what do you say to someone who's being waiting for ready for years?
And that's exactly the point, is what ends up happening because of the fear. We get paralyzed and we don't want to go. We don't want to press the go button. We don't want to go for it. And we get paralyzed. So then we just hold on to this dream. And it sort of kind of can eat us up a little bit, because we know we're living this, the safe life. We're living this life that we've been brought up that we need to live, but we're not feeling satisfied. We're not feeling motivated. So we're not jumping out of bed in the morning. We're not excited about it. And as we start to, I believe the first step is to appreciate that you actually have something in there. You don't have to leave your day job. You don't have to go and pursue it straight away. But once you accept the fact that you actually have something in there, then it forces you to say, well, what is that? And then we start exploring, what is that feeling that I've got? Is it that I need more fulfillment, more motivation? Do I want to help people? How do I want to go about this? And as we start to explore it, we get this confidence. And then after a while, it doesn't always happen straight away. After a while, we start thinking, wait a sec, I can do this. And I can give this a crack. And that's when we can really start to get the momentum going, the snowball happening. As you know, in Vancouver, there's a lot of snow, and you get that snowball and it goes bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually it just gets so big, you just have to get out of the way and let it keep rolling.
Certainly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You've likely worked with entrepreneurs who have already lost everything: a failed business, depleted savings, shattered confidence. How do you help someone rebuild their risk tolerance after they have been burned? Is it even possible to trust yourself again?
And that's a very good question, Daniel. And that's what does happen, because unfortunately, a lot of people jump straight into it without any framework, without any process. They think their idea is great and they just go for it, and then they lose everything. They lose their money, they lose their savings, and then they want to go back to the so-called safe life and just work, and they lose that confidence. And what I say to them, and what I talk to them about is that thing still burning inside? Do they still have that passion? And normally they do. Normally they're those sort of people who are passionate, and often they're passionate about helping others. A lot of these entrepreneurs really want to make a positive difference in the world. So once you start talking about that and reminding them that they once had that passion and had that drive, we can slowly start to ignite that fire and really get that passion going. But this time we do it under a structured framework that actually makes it safer, and it makes it easier for them to keep that ball rolling, to build up the momentum again, so they can get back onto the horse, so to speak.
Momentum indeed. You mentioned facing fears in your promotional material. What
Yeah.
does that actually look like on a Tuesday morning when there's no audience, no pressure, just you and the blank page? How do you practice courage when no one's watching?
That is a great question, and I appreciate that, because often for solopreneurs, small business owners, they are on their own. They are sitting there on a Tuesday morning wondering, what am I even doing here? What's really happening here? And that's where I find it's really good to have some clarity about the next step, the next most important thing to do, because we can get bogged down with all the things that have to happen. And if we have 20 things that have to happen, it's very easy to get down on yourself. It's easy to procrastinate. It's easy to make excuses. But if you're thinking about that one thing, remember, priority originally, the root of priority was, what's the first main thing to do? We've sort of, in the Western world, we've added more and more things, and now we can have 10 priorities. And it's not really a great place to be, because when we've got 10 priorities, what's that thing that you're going to be focusing on? So I really encourage people to think about that one thing. Like right now on a Tuesday morning, you're not quite sure where you're going. You're not quite sure if you're motivated. You're not sure where you're focused. What's the one thing that's going to really push your dream? Not your finances, not your success, not anything, but what's the thing that's going to get your passion really out there in the world? What's that one thing, the most important thing? And generally you'd find it's something that you're a little bit fearful of, you don't really want to do. And once you push yourself through that, which is a lot easier when you can appreciate it's only one thing rather than 10 things, when there's just one thing, I don't really want to reach out to that person, I don't really want to make that call, but that's the only one thing you need to do here on a Tuesday morning, then you do that, then you feel better about yourself, and it's easier to do the next thing and the next thing.
You talk about low cost, low risk ways to test business idea. For someone with a brilliant concept but a zero budget, what is the cheapest, fastest way to know if anyone will actually pay for what they want to build?
Well, another great question, because what happens now with all the technology available, with all the services, it's actually never been cheaper to start a business. In fact, statistically, it's 10 times, 100 times cheaper than it ever has been. So now is the best time to start a business. When you say no budget, obviously it's nice to have a few bucks, but you can really start very, very small. Even just something like a Google Workspace subscription. You get a paid subscription to Google Gemini, you get an email and basic website, and it's like $20 Australian a month. It's hardly anything. And with that, if you're utilizing the AI component, which that also accesses Google's, there's a whole range of suites that Google offers. And this is just one example, there's a lot of different technologies out there at the very, very low cost, and you can really do a lot of things. So I really suggest someone who's on a low budget, rather than waiting to save the money, rather than waiting to where's the money going to come from, just find the lowest cost thing like your Google Workspace or some other platform that you want to use, and just really just start the ball rolling, because it doesn't cost anything to promote on social media. It doesn't cost anything to reach out to people on LinkedIn. It doesn't cost anything to make a phone call. So there is a lot of low cost things you can do in this world.
Very well said, Mr. Mike. Beautifully articulated. One of the biggest mistakes first-time entrepreneurs make is building something nobody wants. They spend months or years in isolation, then lunch to
Correct.
crickets. Lunch with the crickets. How does your approach prevent that
Uh,
heartbreak before it happens?
It's so true. It's so true. And I love what you said there because I see it all the time. And it's so true. That's where the saying the minimum viable product has never been truer than today because you can test it in the world. But as far as the approach is concerned, the DreamLab approach is what we do is we have a few stages. And one stage is the ideal client and the inspirational offer. And that's where it really comes down to it because almost every single entrepreneur I've ever worked with, I say, what would you like to do? And they say, I could help everyone. I can do everything. I've got so much to offer. And so what we do is we say, well, that's great. You've got a lot to offer, but what's the one inspirational offer? Oh, but I've got so many. But what's the main thing? What's going to make the biggest difference? What do you really want to do? What inspires you to do? What inspires others? And by focusing on that one thing and really getting clarity on that thing, then saying, who is your ideal client? Not everybody, but what age they are, what sex are they married, are they not married? And getting really specific on this. I use an analogy, and I'll be quick, is that when you have all your ideas and all your options and all your offers and all your clients and everything, you load it all onto a jumbo jet and you're trying to take off the runway and you just can't get off. And that's you spending years and years and years and then having crickets. You're just still sitting on the runway. What I say is, look, if you want to get flying, put the one inspirational offer, get the one ideal client. They fit on a little Cessna. You take off, you get going. Once you get going, obviously, remember, this is the thing you're most inspired about. This is the client you're most keen to help. Then once you get that up and running, which is very quick because it's low friction, then you can add other things. But at the beginning, we say one inspirational offer, one ideal client, and that's how we do it. Rather than spending years and hearing crickets, we just do that one thing. It's quick and easy, and we get off the ground, and then we get going from there. So that's how we use the framework to overcome that problem.
You also address building your brand and crafting your message. As a part of the journey, how does brand messaging change when you're still in testing phase versus when you're ready to scale? Should entrepreneurs hold back until they know more?
Well, that's the beauty of the inspirational offer and the ideal client, because rather than trying to create a brand that's going to cover everything that you ever do, if you're creating a brand that's simply for that one inspirational offer, the thing that you're most passionate about, it's going to be really in line with you. It's going to be in line with your passion and your purpose. And I remind people all the time, the way I look at it is you're thinking about your brand, you're thinking about or everything you need to launch. We decide, we think of what it's going to be, then we decide what it is. Without thinking over and over and over and over again, we just decide what it's going to be. Now that decision may change but once you decide, what ends up happening is you sleep on it and you wake up in the morning going, hell yeah, that's right. Or you wake up, not quite sure if that's right. So you decide, you think about it, you decide again, you think about it, and eventually, very quickly, you get to a stage where that's great. That'll work for me. And then you just go for it. Because I always remind people, you can always change your mind.
Certainly, and beautifully articulated, Mr. Mike. You promise to help entrepreneurs navigate challenges and celebrate milestones. What is the most common challenge you see entrepreneurs face in the messy middle after the initial excitement fades before the business is stable, and how you help them push through?
Another great question. And that's is where you're right. There's that initial excitement phase, but then normally it's the overwhelm, because once you open up the Pandora's box and you see how many things have to be done, That's when people get down on themselves. That's when they crawl back in the corner and start rocking back and forth, and it's all too much. So that's why I always promote what we do in DreamLab is we're thinking about that one inspirational offer. We think about the ideal client. We say, just go and find one person who's going to take advantage of that offer. Just one person. They're not trying to change the world. They're not trying to do, and that's actually a challenge for people. And it's something that people really struggle to overcome, because the most common thing is they go, but that's not enough. But when they feel that what they're not doing is not quite enough, I say that's where you should be. You should be in a situation where you think, I don't even think that that's enough what I'm doing, because then you do it, then you finish it, and then you do something else and you finish that, and you do something else and you finish, and that's where we get the snowball. Once we start opening up our mind and thinking of all the different possibilities, that's when we get overwhelmed, and that heaviness starts coming in for sure.
You mentioned, Mr. Mike, guidance and inspiration as a part of what you offer. When an entrepreneur hits that inevitable wall, the day they went to quit, the day it feels impossible, what do you say that actually helps them keep going?
I always bring it back to, I really like that, because what happens is we start with this burning passion. We start with this burning desire, and then we go for it, and everything becomes too hard. We start to understand the reality of what you're trying to do, and everything you're trying to change, the people you're trying to help. So we have two real guiding principles within DreamLab. One is your passion. So what I do is I bring people back to the passion. What are you really passionate about? What are you really doing here? What's your big why? What is it that fires you up? Not where are you going to make money, how are you going to be famous, or how are you going to change most people, but what really lights you up? And then the second guiding principle we have is simplicity. And people struggle with this because they think, oh no, I've got to do all this stuff. Everyone naturally leans towards complexity. So we have these two guiding principles. One is passion and the other one is simplicity. And what happens is when people start becoming overwhelmed, we always ask, what's the simplest way we can do this? And I find that when people reconnect with what they're passionate about and they ask themselves, what's the simplest way I can do this? How can I do this in the simplest possible way for now? That's how they get that confidence back, because they start going, oh, wait a sec, I don't have to do all those things. I can just do that one or two things, get it off the ground and start making some progress.
Mr. Mike, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, of course, my book 101 review in sixth season too, comedy 101 fourth season, and my book one and my food 101 in sixth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are in fifth season, science 101, sex 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast trivia 101, motivation 101, spiritual awakening 101, entrepreneurship 101, law 101, mental health 101, coaching 101, and of course my Bible verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So Mr. Mike, tell us, your book is called Fear Stops Here, right?
Well, my latest book is called Make It Look Less Shit. And I know
Okay.
that's a bit of a controversial name, but I feel
Mhm.
that it's a really good book, because what it does is it gives people an idea of how to approach it when they are challenged. It gives them an idea about how to approach their life or their business when they get to those struggling times. Because when they get overwhelmed, when it's too hard, we say to them, look, you don't have to solve the problem. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to make it a little bit less shit, just for today, a little bit less shit. And I find that when people adopt that principle, it really gives them an idea or a direction to try to take a big, deep breath and realize that they only have to get a little bit more done each day, because we know we get a lot more done over the year than we do each day. You think you're going to get more done each week and each day, and you get less than you think, but over the year you get so much more accomplished. So let's just try to make things a little less shit. Let's just keep moving along, follow our passion and follow our dreams.
Follow your dreams. Yes, definitely follow your dreams. We've also, Mr. Mike, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that
Well,
you want to
fantastic.
promote?
I'd love people to go to yourdreamlab.org. I've got a quiz on there called What Type of Change Maker Are You? And just doing the quiz gets you start to think about your archetype, what sort of person you are, what sort of business you'd like to run. And I really feel like it's really a great way to get some personal insights. And I thank you so much for having me on the podcast. And I love all your stuff. I've been listening to your podcast. I didn't realise you had so many others and stuff going on. So I'm really excited to explore your world because I really love what you're doing.
Mr. Mike, I'm inviting you to be part of my Entrepreneurship 101 and let's talk about entrepreneurship mindset if you don't mind. I will include you to my invitation tonight, hoping for more and more episodes to come. I hope you will be my regular guest on Entrepreneurship 101.
Absolutely, I'd love to be.
Thank you. And people, let's support Mr. Mike because if you support him for sure, more and more empowering dream life worldwide. So Mr. Mike.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very
more-
much for having me.
Thank you so much. More to come, people. See you soon.